Okay, welcome back. We're going to talk about Constitution, what led up to it, the debate around it, and the Bill of Rights this week. So, I just said that. Some of the vocabulary you should have looked at already is legislature, legislative, legal, judicial, executive, federal, federation, confederation, constitution, republic, and democracy. Yeah, you'll need to understand those to really understand the Constitution as you're reading it. But before the Constitution, after the states or colonies declared their independence, they created the Articles of Confederation. They won the war under this kind of government, but after the war, it proved that it was rather weak, because it was just kind of a friendship between the states, but they couldn't really hold each other accountable. It was just weak. They couldn't really declare war that easily, or defend each other, nor did they care to, it seemed like. Each state had their own form of currency, and that's just not a good way to go about business if you want to make a living. And there was no regulation of trade between the states, and each state could make contracts with they could make contracts with their enemies, each other's enemies, which is also bad for business. There was no tax, or no way to levy tax sufficient to support an army or navy or something like that. Why? Because why were the states afraid of creating a strong central government? Because they had just gotten out of one. Now, types of government to think about are democracy, a government by the people. Republic is a government run by representatives elected by the people. Monarchy is a single person with all of the governmental power, or making laws, legislation, interpreting law or judgment, and execution or implementing the laws, enforcing the laws as well. Our government is a democratic republic with a touch of monarchy. Like, the president can act quickly in the military to defend the country from foreign and domestic threats, although he is checked by the legislature, and I think he might be checked by the judicial as well. What was I going to say? So the reason why it's a democratic republic and not just a republic is because really the people should voice their opinion, and it should be respected by those that they elect, which doesn't always happen. People kind of lean on the side of republic, and then there are other people who want a democracy where they want to say everything that there is to say about what goes on in government. So things are a little bit chaotic today. Why was the Constitution unique? I'll just read this for you. James Wilson, he was one of the founding fathers. He said that governments in general have been the result of force, fraud, and accident. Okay, so a government gets taken over, the new government is formed. That's the result of force, fraud, and accident. After a period of 6,000 years has elapsed since the creation, talking about the creation of the world, the United States exhibit to the world the first instance, the first time, as far as we can learn, a nation unattacked by external force or convulsed by domestic insurrections, assembling voluntarily, deliberating fully, and deciding calmly concerning that system of government under which they would wish they and their posterity should live. So essentially, this is the first time, at least where they can see, where a government was formed voluntarily. A government was formed with thought, intentionally, with wisdom. Okay? And what was the result? Constitution separated powers vested in the government. They're referred to as checks and balances. One branch balances the other and appoints the other. The legislative branch makes the laws. Judicial branch interprets the laws, whether they're constitutional or not. Also decides the hard cases. And sometimes the judicial branch makes its own laws. This is called legislating from the bench. The executive branch in charge of enforcing laws, but makes orders that are really considered laws, called executive orders. I should note the executive branch is in charge of the military as well. So why have these two other branches started making laws? There's quite a few problems with the legislature. Term limits are an issue. Filibuster is just a waste of time. Politics is just a necessary evil. There's corruption, bribery, lobbyists. It's a lot about money. So the debate on the Constitution, they didn't just go create this Constitution and said, "Hey, we have a new government." No, they said, "This is our proposed new government. We've been considering," we meaning the representatives of the people. Now, the Federalist Papers were letters published in a newspaper speaking for the Constitution or in favor of it. They were signed Publius. They were written by, I think, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and one other guy. Probably, I can't think of the third guy. But essentially, they were saying, look, these are the benefits of having a strong central government that we run ourselves, right? It took a while for them to come to a decision. The Anti-Federalist Papers are what they sound like. They're against the federal government or federation or strong central government. And they were also letters published. Some of them were signed Brutus. Others, I can't remember who signed them, but if you read them, they're kind of ridiculous. The Federalist Papers are a bit more formal, have more thought out arguments, seem more inspired, honestly. That's just my own personal opinion. Why not pass the Constitution? The states had just escaped a powerful central government, or the tyranny of King George. Why pass it? Because united we stand, divided we fall. They knew that they were stronger together than they were separate. Now, thinking ahead, I mean, this is after the Constitution was adopted, but one of the main arguments of the Anti-Federalists was there are no threats, so why do we need to stick together? So here's the question. This is like the question, should we have adopted the Constitution? Would the states have remained states if we hadn't adopted the Constitution? Arguably no, because even though they weren't under immediate threat, a threat came where our capital, Washington, D.C., was attacked, and they burned it to the ground. We won the war eventually, but we were still vulnerable even with the Constitution. We're stronger with the Constitution, so it's arguable that if we had not adopted it, if we just kept with the Articles of Confederation, that we would be part of the UK. They would have taken us over again and not made the mistake of giving us a long leash. So Bill of Rights. You need to know what the Bill of Rights is. If you don't already, I would be surprised if you don't or haven't heard of it. Bill of Rights, first 10 amendments of the Constitution, guaranteed basic rights. Was drafted and proposed by James Madison. Now, originally there were more than 10, but 10 is what passed both the House and the Senate. It's stuff like freedom of speech, freedom of religion, right to bear arms, not to self-incriminate, things of that nature. Just basic rights that weren't found in the Constitution. I believe slavery was proposed, but that didn't sit well with the Southern representatives. They knew that their economy relied heavily on slavery. So that's a pretty short slideshow, but yeah, this week is going to be more about your reading. I mean, it is humanities, so you're looking at the actual documents, and essentially everything on this slideshow is what is on the test. So be looking for that. Feel free to ask me questions as you do your reading if you want clarification. That's the whole point, folks. This is about learning where we came from, the intent behind what was created, and actually in the Federalist Papers, that's what their value is helping to interpret current laws. Federalist Papers, because it gives you a sense of context. Anyway, that's all for me. Have a good day.